Hello, so this will be a no spoiler review. I played the game a lot in the beta and I also played the other games. The main issue for me is that they're just remaking the original Pathfinder game with different skins. The big difference is the lore and the writing. They have an amazing writing team and also the art direction is amazing as well. Their games are always filled with immersion just because of the writing and the story being very well tied together. The lore for the games enhances the feeling of role-playing, but the weakest parts are always going to be the actual gameplay mechanics, the pace of the game, and how the story is presented as a whole. If you play this game for 2 hours, you're probably going to be fighting for about 10% of that time. I'm not joking. If you actually read all of the lore, text, and listen to the dialogue, or even read the dialogue as it is before they are speaking it, yeah, it's going to be like that. Now, I'm a big fan of reading about Warhammer 40k, so reading a Wikipedia is a fun activity for me, but it's bad when you have to pay 50 euros for it. I'm just showing you this battlefield over here because it's a major part of the game. It's actually the introduction, and we'll go through the dialogue and the text and then you'll see the battle, but I'm just trying to set kind of like a pace for the game and kind of seeing how it will be. So we'll do the boss fight, we'll listen to the dialogue, we'll skip some of it because to get to this boss, well, you have to play a lot. Boss fights are actually very rare in the game, and it's usually at the end of the chapter. Also, I removed her helmet so you can see her hair, which looks remarkably close to this character over here. Doesn't look like the portrait at all. Again, just small things they could have fixed. Also, this guy over here, his chainsword is clipping through the floor, and he's kind of floating a little bit over here, as you can see. And yeah, I don't know, there are a lot of things they could have fixed, and this is kind of like the reason I pay a lot of attention to details, so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to showcase this fight more than anything else.
The first sacrifice opens the eye. The second sacrifice draws its gaze.
By the way, he's killing officers. They're overseers, not simple crew. Some of the dialogue will have voice acting, some of the dialogue will not have voice acting. It's kind of weird because I believe somewhere they said the game will have a lot more voice acting after the beta, but I don't see the extra voice. Again, it is going to be a very mixed bag. Sometimes the characters have voice lines, sometimes they don't have voice lines. It's kind of arbitrary. He is dead. The house lost its head. No matter what ritual Conrad is performing here, the warp is too strong, I cannot withstand it. I feel my body changing with every second, the warp ringing in the air. This is the end. We will perish in the warp along with the warrant and all the dynasty's heirs. The enemy of humanity has triumphed. By the way, I'm playing this on the hardest difficulty, which is unfair. Just to give a little more background to the game that I'm playing right now. And that's why I played in the beta as well, hardest difficulty, so I wanted to see how the mechanics are. We better get away from him, the changes are already accelerating. I forbid you the very thought of yielding. Only by resigning to your fate you truly suffer defeat. Words worthy of a righteous soul. Save the lofty words for later, will you? Again, one of the main issues is how the characters are created and how some of them have a lot of effort put into them and some of them basically have no effort and they're just trying to convey you a certain personality, like it's the annoying brat teenager. You have no more time. So all of this will go back and forth between describing the situation, the dialogue, and kind of like background lore. You can see Conrad Voigtvir clearing the gloom of the bridge. The broken blade he is holding is stained with dark drops that seem to have a pearlescent glimmer to them. We are out of time. Eldentrad bites his knuckle, whispering, thinking. You see a wave ripple across the whites of Eldentrad's eyes. They begin to turn to a sickly yellow. But like this, not today. The ritual will not be completed. I will take care of it, and you see to it that the void ship breaks free from the warp. Watch over Orel, and farewell. A cursed traitor. A time will come when you will bleed for a lady ship's Theodora murderer. Remember my words, for they are the vow of he who marches towards his death. What? Theodora is dead? No, that cannot be. Not now. I still haven't.
Your ritual won't be finished, heretic!
He's limping towards him very, very slowly. Careful. He's limping towards you. Run away. And he turns into a warp horror.
The Emperor is with us! Crush them!
So let's continue the review while looking at this marvelous beauty over here, the Chaos Spawn. One of the problems of gaming has been the possibility to have a standard review score to reflect the entire game to the intended audience, but also to the unintended audience, which kind of is necessary these days. If I do a classic review with story and setting, which is point number 1, point number 2 will be gameplay, point number 3 in my opinion would be audio, design and visual design, which is basically the immersion of the game, point number 4 will be replayability, and 5 will be the price point. So let's speak a little bit about the story and the setting first of all. The setting is great, Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, but the story is not that good. The story bounces all over the place with many plot points cut short and many companions having great writing and missions, while the other being a piece of chalk basically. Same for the enemies. Some enemies, villains or general NPCs you meet will have various degrees of quality to them. It's very obvious that some characters were giving more quality, and there's a lot of modern politics if you just look a little bit behind the lines. Like Abelard never getting any respect even though he's a commanding officer on the ship. And also, let's speak about the gameplay before we start the battle. Gameplay is severely limited with only one possible way to advance, and the first 5 hours are just an extended prologue and introduction to the game. It does get a lot better, but you feel limited and there are a few noticeable changes on your characters. For example, if you were to play, let's say, a hack and slash RPG, like, I don't know, playing an hour in Diablo 2, that would mean you finish an interesting quest, you get new gear, you have a few level ups. That will be a big difference in the playstyle with the new skill and the passives. And I just want to make a few things clear because when I start playing you'll see the problems. The primary companions will actively nerf each other, like Abelard being a melee character. He's a melee character that probably will try to attack enemies in melee, right? And then he'll just be hit by friendly fire when he's attacking enemies. And also, when they attack you, you'll hit your other companions in the area with friendly fire. You'll struggle not to hit your characters by accident, and shooting is mostly RNG. You just shoot in the direction and sometimes pointing a direction and hitting your companion or an enemy in the other direction. So yeah. For example, if, let's say, Argenta shoots her gun straight forward, she has a chance to hit my character. And if she shoots forward, she also has a chance to hit this guy. That's how it works. One of the biggest problems of the Pathfinder game is that a lot of times you cannot hit the enemy. This problem remained with the game with its various forms, but it expanded upon with friendly fire and melee being usable for the majority of the game until the game forces you into the smaller area. So let's begin the fight. Sorry, I just had to go a little bit over the game. We have 2 shooters over there. He's kind of like the face tanker of the group. There's no need to level up because I don't think we'll get anything major, so let's begin. Now you can see all of the stats the demon has. As you can see, we have about 20 something HP, 27, 25. This has 200. Armor and some dodge. Weapon skill, it's kind of like what you expect. Weapon skill is melee, ballistic is range. Melee. This is a work in progress icon, they should have changed that. Ability is Toxic Spurt, Rending Scream, and Devourer. That means it will eat its own allies to restore its HP. So that means you have to kill the allies of the creature before you start shooting at it. Easier said than done, because they'll be spread out through this area over here, which is kind of like the problem. Also, you will have to use, let's say, gun and run, but not actually run. Because the only way to kind of be more efficient is to shoot more times, not more accurately. And then we'll shoot normally. Otherwise you only have one attack per round. So for example, if you don't have any abilities, it's just going to be one attack. 4 action points, and you only use one, that's going to be wasted.
Not a problem for me.
Great.
All too easy.
Next. I will actually switch to his shotgun because he will not hit anything with that.
At your beck and call. I took care of this one.
Also improve HP.
It will be done.
This is just, again, just more defensive buffs we have for him. You can also press space to make the combat faster, but as you can see, sometimes the combat is not even about the combat, it's about other objectives. Nice one, kill one heretic. I think I accidentally pressed space because I was trying to skip the... Anyway, it doesn't matter. Now, you will not really understand what this will give you. You gain 2 exploits and then you can turn those exploits to debuff the enemy. That means less dodge, less parry and less armor. So this character, which is a psyker, has a weird way of being handled.
Anything is?
She's like a priest that, anyway, I don't want to get into that. Let's just say that she will get stronger over time anyway, but in the beginning she's quite weak. Also, an attack will end your turn, so might as well move her away from here.
Movement in the Empyrean. Was that you?
11 damage, so that's kind of like the damage of a weapon, a gun. Our turn again, and this time the enemy is closer to us. So I have to attack the demon spawn, otherwise we'll just have nothing to do. Endure.
At your beck and call. I'm not interested. Victory is imminent.
And this is where it gets interesting. They're still fighting in another part of the map. He got smashed, he got hit.
Enjoy your luck while you still draw breath.
I think he hit me as well. From there he hit my character, but it was 0 damage. Doesn't really have a lot of stuff, but now we have the run and gun going. So let's see if we can hit this character, this big demon, without hitting our own character. Oh yeah, he will definitely hit Abelard. And the demon just ate one of those heretics and almost killed Abelard. As you can see, this will be the major problem of the game. Anyway, a bit of context to the game. You start as a possible candidate for the title of Rogue Trader, and then you just bounce around everywhere with a murder investigation of the Rogue Trader, a riot on the ship, a demonic corruption, a planetary and galaxy heretical cult attack, and more. You're just completing checkmarks, but the quests feel like they're left open for a long time. In between all of this, there is a lot of companion dialogue to introduce you to their vision of the world. You never really feel like you accomplish anything until much later into the game when you actually start solving some of these quests. And yeah, you never get the feeling that you are actually doing something or that you're the Rogue Trader. Because you never feel like you accomplish anything until you get probably halfway through the game Your role is limited in the type and the amount of loot you can get. There is no additional money resource to equip and try out builds. Just feel like you're barely hanging on in facing ever-growing threats across the galaxy, and you can never enjoy your position. You have some freedom in choosing your next location, but they all follow the same pattern. Go there, investigate, fight a little, talk a lot, get a little bit of loot, and repeat. So, okay, let's do this another way. As you can see, the point over here is not to fight or to have fun. The point over here is to kill the little enemies.
Suits my purposes.
You basically follow the same pattern every time. Now let's speak a little more about the story. So the story and writing are generally great, but some characters are being poorly written or simply ignored so others can get the spotlight. And this will get annoying as you play more of the game. Starting off as the rogue trader is not... But not seeing this effectively change anything in your progression or development is very off-putting. The gameplay it is what it is, with its highs and its lows. The audio, the design and the visual design, and more importantly the aesthetics are just great. That's the best part of the game. Now the replayability. As you can see, this is a lot of bloated content. I don't know how else
That is not the Emperor's will.
to mention it. But because of this... Thank you, Tech Enforcer. The trauma. Yeah, thank you, Tech Enforcer.
Was that you? Or
No, it was the Deck Enforcer. Ah, I think I already gave him that buff. Doesn't matter.
I've seen worse battles than this in my time.
Wait, I didn't want to put him over there. Ah, I don't know. I think I misclicked or something. Sometimes the game decides to do its own thing. So yeah, bloated content. I don't think there's much playability in this, and the only true choice you have over here, someone died. Is you have kind of like this system, this meter. Actually, yeah, it's actually closer to a meter than anything else. And this is kind of like, will reflect all of the choices you make. You can be either dogmatic, heretical, or iconoclast, but this is kind of a weird thing to do. Other games use this system as well, especially that other Space Marine game, Warhammer 40k, I forget what it's called, it's an action RPG. Quite a while back, it was used quite a while back. So it's only a meter. You can have a choice that will fill up the meter, and then you get various bonuses. And at some point you can only fill up one of these if you reach, let's say, level 3. I think level 3 is the point of no return. Or you become a fanatic and cannot go back to the other ones. Fanatic, zealot, yeah. And this is important because your companions also have this meter. So as you can see, she's a heretic, she's a dogmatic, will be an iconoclast, and some of the equipment will have a necessary check. So only the dogmatic can use the helmet, only the iconoclast can use certain things. Anyway, it's not a very good way to do it in my opinion, and some characters will mainly become buff bots or face tankers. As you can see, face tanker, buff bot. That's how the game it is. They have limited utility or damage. This character must die now. Unavailable, but I just had to wait a few more seconds.
None can escape the Emperor's judgment.
Okay, now we can actually start damaging the so-called
Doubt
boss,
is for the weak.
which only a Jetta can actually damage because of the bolter.
Just a minor setback.
Thank you.
Will do.
It's basically analyzing enemy, which just gives them a status effect that does nothing until you use this thing, expose
But of
weakness.
course.
Yeah, it's just math.
Not
then
the Scryer's job.
we cannot screen at the enemy anymore, okay?
It will be done.
If I remember correctly, it's a super bad idea to hit this guy in melee, so we'll not hit him in melee, we'll
Follow
just
my lead.
run away
Brace yourself, Abelard.
and shoot him with a shotgun. Yeah, so the conclusion would be a mixed review with the game being very good for people who like to read a lot of lore about Warhammer 40k, a bad choice for Turk combat fans because of the gimmicky combat and how spread the combat is. It's very far away.
Prove
It's
my
a-
metal.
It's a great choice for people who like a good story, but a bad choice for people who want the full package. It's like going to a fancy restaurant and having a dish that contains a steak, mushrooms, french fries, shrimp, fried shrimp, and duck dumplings. So do you want to play full price and only hit half of it? Because some people don't like mushrooms, or they don't like duck, or they don't like the shrimp. So yeah, I'll just wait for a sale because the game has many bugs now, not game breaking but also immersion breaking bugs. Abelard probably hanging
Faith
on in
without
there.
deeds is worth. This is why I was chosen.
The developers are well known for having many DLCs to their game as well, so yeah, it can be a good thing or a bad thing. It can be a good thing or a bad thing to have many DLCs. Probably this game will have also a lot of DLCs. But if you pay full price for the game, that just means you'll have less money to buy the DLC, which means you'll not really have the full game per se. It's a good game for 2023, but main mechanics are inferior to games from this year and only the story is superior to other games, but just Warhammer 40k lore and story is not something the devs made, which is one of the bigger problems I have with the game. Also, not to mention that a lot of mechanics are only available to the player much further into the game, like certain abilities that change the way the character is played, the ship-to-ship combat. There is ship-to-ship combat, but it's vastly underdeveloped. Also, the really fancy guns and armor can only be obtained later if you know when and how. As the game also has a system that... Who else is alive? Who else needs a buff? That basically means to use, let's say, a bolter or a heavy armor or let's say one of the exotic Eldar weapons, you need to have a skill proficiency. So that means when you level up, you need to specifically choose the skill that will let you use that weapon or armor. But since you don't know when you'll get the weapon or armor, it's very hard to predict like that.
On it.
Next. Also, I can do this fight with basically no one lost, but that's not the point of the game.
Pain and beauty go hand in hand.
Guided by faith. I will not. As the Emperor commands.
Worse, but not by much.
Anything else? Will do.
I'll be back in no time.
Blessed are those who sacrifice for the Imperium.
Die!
Faith without deeds is worthless. I'll do it. But of course. Was that you? I'm not the enemy.
Already done. There's nowhere to hide.
Shall become like fire.
Death to the heretics!
Okay, I made a few mistakes, but as you can see, it doesn't really matter. We won the fight anyway, so it's just a matter of having patience and again retrying again, because it's so much RNG involved in this game, especially when it comes to the boss fights.
A new challenge for me.
You might be wondering, well, what did you get from such a great fight, amazing fight? Blade shot, nothing. Claws of endurance, which means when you get an injury or fallen conscious in combat, their allies gain 1 bonus to damage. Great. Iconoclast. Each heroic act increases the dodge, which is good, but again, you have to know you require Iconoclast. The game kind of does a very bad job of telling all of this stuff, so basically the Rogue Trader cloak will not be worn by the Rogue Trader, he will be worn by us. And Fellowship is something that you don't really need, unless you have a skill that will specifically require you to do that. Okay, get out of there.
That's not the Seneschal's job.
You'll probably have to wear this because you'll be near enemies a lot of times. Yeah. Abelard gets a lot of the damage. You may be wondering what else, what other stuff you can loot from here? Well, nothing. That's it, that's your reward for doing this. Anyway, I have a let's play for the game. See you next time, bye bye.